Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Sukirti, Madhavi,
Amreen Gaurdas,
and we welcome you for another exciting journey on Bhagavad Gita. And this is called Gita Mastery Course. And here, as you all know, we would be going throughout the Bhagavad Gita, not chapter by chapter, not section by section, but verse by verse. So we will be covering each and every single verse of Bhagavad Gita, and we will try to understand what this verse's implications is, what it is talking to us, what can I learn and apply in my life. So as many of you were there, a part of our Gita Mastery course for the first trimester also. So we have already completed chapter 1, 2 and 3. And this trimester 2, we would be covering chapter 4, 5 and 6. So the entire Bhagavad Gita we have divided into 6 modules or trimesters. So this is the second trimester. So here, as you can see on the screen, so there are basically 4 sections of 4th chapter. Today we will be discussing the first section. So totally 10 verses are there from verse number 1 to 10, and the title is Eternal Education. So this chapter title is Transcendental Knowledge, and here we will see what Krishna is talking about transcendental knowledge or this eternal knowledge, how to acquire and what is the qualification, etc. So all that we would be checking out in detail today. So moving to the first verse of Bhagavad Gita.
We'll chant Mangalacharan.
Yeah, before we get into that, we will chant Mangalacharan, so a set of prayers which is given at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. So those of you who are attending this session for the first time, let me tell you that we have Bhagavad Gita as it is version compulsory, like that is the textbook through which we would be referring throughout these sessions. So we strongly recommend that you all acquire a copy of your Bhagavad Gita as it is, which is published by BBT ISKCON's Bhagavad Gita with Srila Prabhupada's translation. So we will chant the Mangalacharan. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Desha Tarini. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna.
So as far as this Mangalacharan is concerned, as Sugiti was explaining, that it is right there in the beginning of introduction of Bhagavad Gita as it is. And we will be sharing, those of you who are just joining us, we'll be sharing the YouTube link of Mangalacharan. We've just made a small Mangalacharan video where the verses are there and also our audio is there, so that you can recite regularly, daily, and then become used to it. So we'll recite the shloka number 1 of chapter 4. We are entering into the first section called Eternal Education.
Shri Bhagavana Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Bravit.
The personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivasvan. And Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. And Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So here we see that how we are going to understand about the eternal education system, and we see that the origin of this system is Supreme Lord himself, Krishna. So here he is saying, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga. So the origin or the source of this transcendental spiritual knowledge is Krishna himself, which means that nobody else actually is capable of giving this knowledge in our universe. And what did he do? So here we have a brief history of Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is saying he gave it to sun god Vivasvan. So we need to understand one thing. There are personalities who are managing the affairs of all the planets and all the stars within the universe. So that is the Lord's arrangement. We may personally not know the science, our so-called science of the planet Earth. They may not be in a position to identify, but then each planet and each star has a personality who manages and controls the affairs. Like we also say Bhumi Devi, the deity of earth. So similarly, we have the deity of sun, the sun god, Vivasvan. So this knowledge was given to Vivasvan. Vivasvan in turn gave this knowledge to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu instructed this knowledge to Ikshvaku. So we see that later Lord Ramchandra appeared in the same line as the line of Ikshvaku. So this is a brief history of the Bhagavad Gita. We'll go to the insights.
Before we go to the insights, can you quickly confirm if we are clearly audible? Because I see in the chat window somebody is writing that there is some multiple voices you are hearing from us. So are we audible?
Maybe what
clearly?
we can do
Can
is
you please confirm? Some
we'll
of you
use
can
one
confirm.
mic.
Very clear.
Okay. So most of you are saying very clearly audible. So PS Rajender ji, can you please check your speaker settings? Probably there is some problem there because everybody is saying that it is clearly audible. Thank you. We'll proceed.
So we'll go to the insights of shloka number 1. So we saw, so these are the insights. This is what we need to keep in mind when we are looking at the first verse of the 4th chapter. Number 1, the origin of transcendental or spiritual knowledge is Krishna himself, the Supreme Lord, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, and he's saying, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga. So we need to understand that. Second, Prabhupada very elaborately describes the Vedic time scale, because we need to understand that how there are different divisions of time. So time factor is present in the material world. In this our universe, everything is pushed forward by the force of time, Kal. And there is time division. There's a time scale. Like, for example, most of us now in India and most part of the world, everybody is following the Christian calendar. So we have this year 2021 AD. Which is Anno Dominic, and then before that was before Christ, BC, 100 BC, 1000 BC, whatever. So, you know, that is the Christian calendar. But similarly, we also have a Vedic time scale, and Vedic time scale does not just manages 100 years or 1000 years or 5000 years. It manages hundreds of thousands of years. So we just look at the time scale after this. And the third insight that we're getting here is that Bhagavad Gita is as good as Vedas. Now, most of us, we have not possibly been trained in Sanskrit. We may not have access to the genuine Vedic scripts, but we have access to genuine Bhagavad Gita as it is, and they're non-different. Why? Because Vedas came from the Lord, and so has Bhagavad Gita. In fact, Bhagavad Gita has been spoken directly by the Supreme Lord. So even if we don't have access to Vedas, that is just fine, because we have access to the essence of the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, just these 700 verses, 18 chapters, we get the entire knowledge which is contained in the Vedas. And we also see that this knowledge has been given by Sri Bhagavan, or by the Supreme Lord Krishna, and therefore the source of this knowledge is Apurushaya, or it is not a human source. It is not somebody like you or me who's giving this knowledge, because we are defective, we are limited, our senses are limited, our intelligence is limited. There are so many imperfections in us, but this knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, is perfect because it has come to us from a perfect source. It has come from a superhuman source, or from the Supreme Lord himself. So these are very, very important insights, a very important shloka. In fact, both of us, we feel that this is a very important section of the 4th chapter, because here Krishna talks about the education system. He talks about himself and what is the result of this knowledge. So very, very important, these 10 verses. In fact, there are, among these 10 verses, 4 verses are memory verses. So it's that important. So let's look at the Vedic time scale. We'll go to the next slide. So here we see there is a pie chart which is behind me right now. And so I'm sure most of us have heard of Satyug. And then after Satyug, there is a sequence. So Satyug is the first yuga. After that comes Treta Yuga. After that comes the Dwapar Yuga. And then finally comes the Kali Yuga. So Satyug is the age where where all the good qualities existed. But with the force of time, those good qualities deteriorated, and then Treta Yuga came, then it further deteriorated, Dwapar Yuga came, and then further deteriorated, and we are currently in the age of Kali Yuga, which is infested with bad qualities. So that's why the Satyuga is called Golden Age, Treta is called Silver, Dwapar is called Bronze, and Kali Yuga is called Iron Age. Now let's look at the duration of Kali Yuga. Duration of Kali Yuga is 4,32,000 years, or 432,000 years. And this is the shortest of the yugas, out of which only 5,000 years have elapsed roughly. So we still have to see 4,27,000 years. We are yet to see witness these many years of Kali Yuga which are balanced. We are right in the beginning of Kali Yuga, and if you double Kali Yuga, which means multiply 432,000 into 2, then we get the duration of Dwapar Yuga. Then Kali Yuga 3 times is Treta, and Kali Yuga 4 times is Satyug. So these are the yuga cycles when we compare with the solar Earth years.
And it goes on in a cycle.
So this cycle is called one Divya Yuga, and these cycles are repeated 1,000 times in one day of Brahma. So maybe some other day we'll discuss this more in detail. So this is the Vedic time scale, just to give you a preview. So now we will go to the next verse.
So this shloka number 2 is a memory verse. Like Prabhu was saying, that in this section we have 4 memory verses. So out of 10, 4 verses are memory verses. Memory verses means that they are very, very important and they are very helpful. So we must try and memorize these verses.
Yeah, they signify very important principles of Bhagavad Gita.
Evam parampara praptam imam raja rishayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. So now if we go to the first line, so it says Evam parampara praptam. Evam, now it is referring to something, this supreme science, Krishna says. So this Evam refers to what Krishna is talking in the previous verse, and Prabhu was explaining. So the knowledge which he gives to Vivaswan, and then it travels. So he's talking about that supreme knowledge. So he's saying Evam parampara praptam. Praptam means to acquire. Prapt karna. So this knowledge is acquired in parampara. Now what is parampara? Parampara means disciplic succession. Guru, and he has his disciple. So Guru gives the knowledge to his disciple, and in due course of time, disciple becomes a Guru and he gives that knowledge to his disciple. So this is how the chain is there, and the whole knowledge is passed in a Guru Shishya Parampara, or a disciplic succession. And then Krishna says, Imam Rajarashayo Viduhu. So Rajarashayo refers to saintly king. So this is how this knowledge was received by the saintly king. Sa kalena mahata yogo nashta. Nashta. Nashta means what? Nasht means destroy. So now what destroys what? So it says sa kalena. Kal means time. So with time, this knowledge, this chain gets destroyed. That is what Krishna is explaining. That this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in that course of time, the succession was broken. So that Guru Shishya, Guru Shishya, Guru Shishya. So that succession was broken or destroyed by time, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So let's look into the insights of this verse. So here we have, it is talking about primarily one thing, that is process of knowledge transfer. So Krishna is talking about this most sacred transcendental knowledge, and he is emphatically telling that this knowledge should be received through the proper process. What is that process? Guru Shishya Parampara. Apart from that, there is improper process. So we do receive the knowledge, but it is contaminated. It is not as it is. So there are two ways of receiving this knowledge. One is proper process and another is improper process. We will look into a little detail about that. And the second aspect or the insight of this verse is the function of time. So like as Krishna is telling here, Sakaleneha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. So with time, this succession was broken. So before we get into it, like those of you who are attending this session for the first time, in these sessions we have a lot of interactive exercises also. This helps us in strengthening our understanding and internalizing the learning. So here coming up is the first reflective exercise which we want all of you to do. So here what you have to do is, we have made a list of around 9 items are there. You have a multiple choice option there. So you have to choose which of the following changes or deteriorates with time. So you can choose, it's a multiple choice question. What all items do you think deteriorates with time?
Out of these 9 items, which all you feel would deteriorate with time? We could understand, as Sugiti was explaining, that the proper process is disciplic succession, that the knowledge comes from the bona fide guru to the bona fide disciple, and then the later disciple becomes himself a guru, and then he has his own disciple. So like that the knowledge transfers. So if those of you who have the hard copy of Bhagavad Gita as it is, what you can do is you can go towards the end of introduction. So there is an introduction of Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita as it is roughly 32 pages or something. So if you go to the end of introduction, you will find an entire list of the Guru disciples. And if you notice, the first name there is Krishna. So the first name is Krishna. Krishna gave this knowledge to Brahmaji. Brahma gave this knowledge to Narad. Narad gave this knowledge to Vyasadeva, and so on and so forth. And at the end of this disciplic succession, you will find the name of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So that is the proper way of receiving the transcendental spiritual knowledge, this supreme science of yoga. This is what Krishna is telling us. And what is the improper process? Improper process is to receive this knowledge, any spiritual message, from anyone who does not come in a bona fide Guru Shishya Parampara, who's not part of this disciplic succession. So that's very important to know, because what happens is there is so much access to social media. We may see some YouTube video, we may see some forward on WhatsApp, and somebody may just forward some message to us and we say, okay, is it like that? Right? We must immediately question. We must go back and question the source. Who is speaking? Are they bona fide? Are they connected to any bona fide Guru Parampara? From what is the source of their knowledge? So that is very, very important. So most of the time we'll find that these people, so many of them, they are writing commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, they are speaking on Bhagavad Gita, but they will not actually talk about the proper tattva, the proper knowledge. They do not accept, many of them, most of them don't accept Krishna as Supreme Lord. They do not follow any parampara, and they have their own whimsical interpretations. So if you'll ask me personally, actually they are doing a great disservice to Bhagavad Gita. Rather than doing service, they are doing great disservice, because through their means they're misguiding so many people. Right? Sometimes, in fact, I received from some of the participants, they will forward some messages to me and ask me, is it true? Is it correct? So I actually get back to them, then what is the source from we have got? Right? So I don't know why we tend to believe the WhatsApp forwards, and why do we tend to believe the some random video. So we should be very careful. So it's a very important insight, and I want you to absorb it and always keep this filter or this checkpoint always in your life, that if somebody is talking about some spiritual thing, what is the source from where he is got? Who is he? What is his introduction? Why should I accept what he's saying? So that's a very important check always to have.
Yeah, it is just like when we go to a formal education system, our school, our college. So how many of us do we choose a college which is not authorized? So we see to it that even if when we are putting our children to the school, that the school is properly authorized and affiliated to one of the boards. So similarly, this knowledge also should be received within that authority structure which Krishna is giving here. And here we have a very interesting life lesson arising from this.
So we understand, yeah, we'll just read that life lesson. So we understand, all of us, now you see that there is, our faces are little bright and dull at the same time. So there is so much of electricity you are using. All of you are using electricity. You have your phones, your laptops, and there is a fan running, AC running, or at least some light is there. So what we understand is that we need electricity. Now, where does that electricity come in? We plug in, we put in the plug into our a plug point, and that plug point is receiving electricity ultimately from a powerhouse. So who is the spiritual powerhouse? The Supreme Lord Krishna. So from the Supreme Lord Krishna, the super powerhouse, from there that power is transferred through the Guru Shishya Parampara, and we need to plug in into a bona fide Guru. Not just simply a socket is in the wall which is not connected to any powerhouse. Would we get electricity there? No. So that is the life lesson. Connect to the plug which is connected to the powerhouse, else there would be no electricity. Bona fide parampara matters. Right? But bona fide parampara is the most significant, most important aspect of spiritual life.
Actually, like yesterday or day before, it so happened that I kept my phone for charging, and after half an hour I go back there and I see that it is still 2 or 3% charge. So I was wondering what happened, and then I realized that though I plugged in the charger in my phone, but the other thing I did not plug it in the source, electricity source. It was not plugged in, so of course it will not charge. So similarly, we may try to acquire knowledge through Google and WhatsApp, but that is not the connection. So you have not connected it to the point, the source. And there is another life lesson here. Leaders and administrators must read and follow Bhagavad Gita. It is specifically designed for them. So as Krishna says that Raj Rishi or the saintly kings understood it that way. So similarly, we need to understand that this is an important knowledge which is given to the leaders of the society. And in the 3rd chapter, we discussed that each one of us is a leader in some or the other capacity. So this knowledge is for each one of us, and especially those who are in more responsible position must follow and read and follow Bhagavad Gita.
And I was just thinking, in earlier times, actually the kings were properly trained not just in the means of administration, but they were also very properly trained in spiritual science. But nowadays, practically all the political class, the ruling class, is uneducated spiritually. Most of them. That's how my understanding is. They're not formally trained in the spiritual side. They're not trained in Bhagavad Gita. But imagine, our entire political class is well educated with faith in Bhagavad Gita and the words of Lord Krishna. If our judiciary is properly trained in Bhagavad Gita and they have faith in the words of the Lord, then what a transformation would come about in our civil life, right? It will be just so transformative, and I'm sure we'll be far more peaceful and happy in our current life. So this used to be the system. This is what Lord had ordained for the ruling class.
So moving to the next verse. Sa evayam maya tedya
Yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hi etaduttamam.
So now Krishna is talking about some rahasyam. Rahasyam means mysterious or secret thing. So he's talking and he's telling who is qualified to receive that rahasyam. Bhakto sime sakha cheti. So two words. Bhakto. Bhakt means devotee. And sakha cheti. Sakha means friend. So one who is a devotee and a friend. So here he says that very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So if we see the sequence, how it is flowing. So in the first verse, Krishna was talking about the origin, that originally whom he gave this knowledge. Then in the second verse, he was talking about through which medium can one acquire that knowledge, which is that university through which one can acquire that knowledge. In this verse, Krishna is talking about what is the qualification. Am I qualified to receive that knowledge or not? So here Krishna says, if you are a devotee and if you are a friend, then you can understand this knowledge.
And also here the word used is rahasyam, as Sugiti was telling. This word rahasyam is very important. This science and this knowledge about Krishna is rahasyam, is secret. And many of you, and I have personally this experience. Many years back, when I was working, I had my boss and somehow we were discussing Bhagavad Gita. And he started telling, yeah, Krishna was a powerful prince. He's a historical figure. I said, no, he's Supreme Lord. So many people, they think like that. They don't have, one, they may not have faith in God itself. And second, they may not consider Krishna as God. So many people are like that. And that is why Krishna is saying it is rahasyam. It is secret, it is confidential, and many people do not know. And therefore, Krishna is beginning to tell that I can give you this secret knowledge. Why? As Sugiti was explaining, Krishna is explaining here, Bhakto si me sakha cheti. Because you are my devotee and you are my friend. So I'll tell it to you. Others I will not tell.
So the insight from this verse, we have, as we are discussing, that qualification to receive this knowledge is one has to become Krishna's devotee. So devotee means what? Devotee means one who has faith and surrender and love and devotion. So that person becomes a devotee of the Lord. So unless I am surrendered to what Krishna is saying, I may not be able to understand this knowledge. And second is, I am Krishna's friend. So friend indicates a favorable attitude. We are not very agnostic, or we are not questioning everything and weighing everything. We are believing him. We proceed with overall a very positive outlook. That is what it means to be a friend. So we'll go to the next verse. So now 3 verses Krishna spoke. And this 4th verse we have from Arjun. And
suddenly Arjuna will speak this verse. We will see why it is a little a turn of events.
Arjuna vacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha katham etad vijaniyam tvam adau proktavaniti.
Arjun said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? So this question may seem to be very logical. Krishna, you are just 125 years old. We are in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. You just appeared, some time back. You're talking about Vivaswan. Vivaswan means millions of years back. How is it? How do I understand that you instructed this science to him? Now we may contemplate on this point. What happened to Arjun? Arjun is a known devotee. He is a known friend of Krishna. In fact, it is explained that whenever Krishna will visit them, Krishna and Arjuna were inseparable. They will always be together. Or when Krishna will go to Dwarka, again Krishna and Arjuna will be inseparable. So how, and Arjuna very well knew that Krishna is Supreme Lord. So how is it that he is asking this question? So we have insights that why Arjuna is having that doubt. We'll go to the insight slide. So Arjuna is having doubts. Why? Because he is asking these questions on our behalf. I'm sure we would have this experience that we're sitting in a class, maybe we were in, our 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. And, I was, one of the students, and we'll always have those smart kids, sitting somewhere, and they will always be asking smart questions. And then when they'll ask the question, I'll say, wow, it's a good question. Yeah, I would like to know the answer. So Arjuna is doing the same thing for us. Arjuna, right there with the Lord, he is asking all those questions on our behalf. So to enlighten ignorant people like us, if Krishna would have said that, probably we would have accepted, or it wouldn't have made sense to us that how Krishna gave this science to somebody millions of years back. So to enlighten ignorant people, Arjuna is asking, and to defeat the atheistic people. So to people who do not accept Krishna as God, right? So here is an opportunity where Krishna himself will explain this, right? So what can be a better, who can be a better authority to talk about God, to talk about the powers of God than God himself? So to directly hear from Krishna. So these are the reasons why Arjuna is asking these questions on all of our behalf.
So moving further, we will see now what Krishna replies to these questions of Arjuna. So this is in verse number 5 and 6. The personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So now what Krishna is doing in this particular verse, initially he is accepting that yes, Arjun, what you are doubting or what you are raising the point, it is okay. And then he says, as we can see in the insight, that he is basically talking about the difference between Krishna himself and the living entities. So now Krishna starts differentiating the two. So Krishna is in a way telling that I am the Supreme Lord and you are a living entity.
You are a Jiva.
You are a Jiva. So the difference between Supreme Lord and the Jiva, that is what Krishna is bringing out here. And if we go through the purport of these two verses, Srila Prabhupada very clearly delineates, expertly informs us as what is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the living entity. So we have presented it in a tabular form so that we can easily remember. So the first point is Krishna remembers. So Krishna remembers past, Krishna remembers present, and Krishna also knows future. And talking about us, what to talk of future? I mean, of course, we don't know anything about future. Past, if it is long past, it is like already forgotten. And present, like even a little while ago, what has happened, like what you had in breakfast yesterday or what was there in the dinner last night. You may have to think a little and then we come up with an answer. And if I ask what you had last week, I'm sure nobody remembers, like last Sunday, what was there for the breakfast. So Krishna remembers and living entity or the Jiva forgets. That is one difference. And why does that happen is because Krishna does not change body. And the living entity, we have been continuously changing the bodies. So when we were born and our body now, if we compare the two, there is a huge difference. Rather, there is no similarity, right? The height has increased, the weight has increased, complexion would have changed, the eyes, the overall shape, everything has changed. The body is completely changed. So Krishna does not change the body and we keep changing the bodies.
And also about the transmigration, no? Past life memories.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we do not remember our past lives because we have changed the body completely. So from birth we are changing the body, but from last birth we have completely changed the body. So we transmigrate from one body to another, and that's why most of us, we do not have any memories of our past life.
And the third point, if we see, is appear by his own sweet will. Krishna appears when he wants to. He is not obligated. He is not forced by anyone. But if you look at us, how many of us really signed on papers that these are the parents that we'll be born to? How many of us decided? Or how many of us can decide about our next life? That I want to appear on the heavenly planets, and or I want to appear there, and who will be my parents and what will be my situation? Can we dictate? Can we force ourselves to be what we want to be? So I mean, we actually receive a body, we receive a place of birth, circumstances of a birth based on our karma. So what we do, and of course what we desire, all that gets mixed up, and based on that we get this body. And then the next 2 points, Lord has transcendental body. There's no difference between his body and soul. This is so amazing. When we see beautiful form of the Lord, we see his beautiful feet, which are pinkish, and then we have his thin waist and broad shoulders and very beautiful arms, and intoxicating face with lotus-like eyes and curly bluish tinge hair, bimba fruit red lips. So when we see that beautiful form, the entire form of the Lord is spiritual. It is not matter. It is not made of Panch Mahabhuta. It is all completely spirit. So he has a transcendental body, and there is no difference between his body and soul. That entire form is spirit. But in our case, we are spirit souls, and we are entrapped in this material body. So we have a material body, and there's a difference between body and ourselves. So I am spirit soul, and this body, and I'm living in this body. So that's a difference. And the last point we see here is that in case of the Lord, his body does not deteriorate. It is spirit. It is not made up of matter. It does not have any influence of time. In fact, Lord is controller of time. So his body does not deteriorate. His intelligence does not deteriorate. His memory does not deteriorate. In our case, everything changes. First, body grows, remains for some time, and then deteriorates. Our intelligence deteriorates with time. Our memory deteriorates with time. Some of us, in the previous session, we were discussing about memorizing verses. And then parents have this experience that children learn shlokas very quickly. But we, at our age, we struggle trying to remember shlokas. So, so many things deteriorate with time in our case. So we see a very clear distinction between God and us. We are not God. We can never become God. Right? So it's a very powerful thought there, very powerful principle.
And based on that, we have our next life lesson coming up here, that I belong to Supreme Lord. So let me stop trying to be Lord. It's always frustrating. So I cannot become Supreme Lord. What I can do is I belong to Supreme Lord. And when I understand this, then I progress towards perfection. So moving towards the next verse, this is another memory verse, and I'm pretty sure that many of us would know this verse. So let's all chant.
The next verse, both the verses.
So let's all chant together.
Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharata abhyuttanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise in irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So here Krishna is showing his supreme independence, and he's saying when and where he appears. So when does he appear? He appears when there's a decline in religious practice and there is rise in irreligion. That's a time when Krishna appears. And wherever he appears, wherever this happens, because many people have this question, can we go to the insights. So many people have this question, how is it that Krishna appeared in India, Rama appeared in India? Are Baba, if you look at Bhagavatam, there are so many incarnations of the Lord, and they appeared all over the universe in different planetary systems, in different species. So that is the power and potency of the Lord. So we see the insights. The insight, when does Lord appear? Lord appears whenever there's a decline in religion and rise in irreligion. So Krishna appears because he is the ultimate administrator. He is the one who has put the principles in place and who is the enforcer of those religious principles. So whenever there is a decline in those religious principles, it is the ultimate responsibility, duty of the Lord to come and set the situation right. The significance of the word Srijami, the next insight, Srijami means that Lord, Srijami sometimes we understand as word creation, but here Krishna is using the word Srijami to indicate that he appears in his original transcendental spiritual form by his own free, sweet will. And another insight is that it is the Lord who defines the dharma. It is the Lord who establishes dharma. It is not you or me. We may have our own conceptions of morals. That will not save us from laws of nature, because Lord is the creator of laws. Like for example, we live in different countries. I am living in India and I have to conduct myself according to law of land. If I do not follow those laws of land, I may think traveling on the left side of the road is not okay. I'll drive on the right side of the road. I may have my own opinion about what is proper, what is improper, but then I'll be, the police may cut a challan or something may happen to us. I'll get punished by the laws of the land. So similarly, what is moral or immoral is defined by God. It is not subject to our opinions. Like another very important example that I keep discussing to exemplify this is of abortion. Of course, in some cases, it could be a medical emergency to save the life of the mother. The doctors may recommend an abortion. But for many, many people, it is just a matter of convenience. They don't want a child now. It is an unwanted pregnancy. So what to do? Abort, right? So is it moral or immoral? So there is a huge debate. When does the embryo becomes a human? When does the embryo gets life? Arey Baba, you and me, medical science cannot define that. We have to see from the eyes of the scriptures. We have to see what Lord says. And Lord says that the life comes into the womb right when the father impregnates the mother, right from day one of the impregnancy, which means abortion that way is just murder, right? So it is the Lord who defines, it is the Lord who established the principles of dharma. We may close our eyes, we may tend to ignore those laws, and we may just discard them, but then we'll be liable to be punished by the laws of nature. And finally, we have certain facts of avatar coming up, but before that, we have this reflective exercise.
So we are sharing the screen with you and we request you to attempt the quality. So now what you have to do is you have to find out what is the real quality of the following things. So there are 4 items which are mentioned there: water, chili, fire and sugar. And you have to find out that very, very unique quality, which is like their innate quality, which is always present with them. So it's a small
What makes
exercise.
chili a chili? What makes sugar sugar? What makes fire fire? Like that. So you have to mark the qualities.
Those of you who are watching on YouTube can type the comments. What do you think about these 4 qualities? And also those of you who are watching at YouTube, you also can watch and join us at Zoom. If you want to join the course, kindly send a message to 9840-229-226.
Thank you, Anupama, for your answer.
It's so nice to see your videos on. Then we feel more connected when you have your videos on. So we are very thankful to all of you who have turned on your videos.
So those of you who have completed your exercise, I request that you kindly mark your attendance if you have not already done that.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So with this we end our quiz, and here we are sharing the results. So now, what is the real quality of water? And 91% of you have chosen flow. So yeah, so till the time water flows, it is water. The moment it stops flowing, it becomes ice, right? It freezes, it becomes ice. So it is no longer water. What is the real quality of chili? Now we appreciate chili when it is hot. When we have chili which is sweet, when we take a bite into it or we add to the sabji, then we would think that, oh my God, what is it? I wasted my money on these chilies. So chili is that way. And then the third one was, what is the real quality of fire? And 100% of you have chosen fire should be hot.
Heat. Yeah.
Heat, yeah. And the fourth one, what is the real quality of sugar? So sugar is that which is sweet. If it is not sweetening, then it is not sugar. So what we were discussing here is the innate nature, the quality of each one of this. So when we are talking about dharma, Krishna says yada yada hi dharmasya glanir. So he's talking about dharma, and Prabhu was speaking with so much of emotions about how abortion and what is real dharma and what is not. So when we talk about this dharma, so what is that dharma? So like these things we discuss, like water's dharma is to flow, chili's dharma is to be hot, fire's dharma is to produce heat, and sugar's dharma is to add sweetness to whatever preparation it is added to.
So what is our dharma?
So what is our dharma?
What is our dharma? What do we do? Always, actually, like sugar, whether it wants or it doesn't want, it is always sweet. Fire, whether it wants or does not want, it always burns. Similarly, chili is hot and water flows. So what is that we are always engaged in? What do we always do? What is that innate quality that we have in us?
So that,
okay.
So Satyendra, you were there in yesterday's batch also, and that's why you are getting the right answer. So yes, so the dharma is to serve. Thank you, Dharmendra, for your answer. So the dharma of living entity is to serve. We can see that how we are serving in different capacities. Sometimes we are serving our spouse, sometimes children, sometimes nation, sometimes society, sometimes bosses,
sometimes subordinates, sometimes servants,
sometimes pets. So we are constantly serving. So that is the real dharma. And here comes the life lesson. Dharma redefined. It is our intrinsic nature which does not change with faith. So dharma is not Hinduism or Islam. What is dharma? The real dharma of human being is to serve the real person, Supreme Lord. So I can have different faith. I can have
belief system.
Yeah, belief system. So I can be Hindu by faith or I can be Muslim by faith. But my dharma, irrespective of which category or label I put on myself, yet the dharma of a human being is to serve the real person, the Supreme Lord. And there is another life lesson.
Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. So please always keep that in your mind, in your memory, that it is the Lord only who manufactures a system of religion. You and I, we cannot do that. So better, we know that it is His system, and we better adhere to the system.
We cooperate.
We cooperate with His universal legal system.
So next is certain facts about Avatar.
So avatar means that Lord is in the spiritual world. He descends into the material world. He comes down into the material world. And that's a time when the word avatar is used, that Lord has taken avatar. Lord has descended from the spiritual world. So why does He descend? He comes with a mission. And we see that mission towards the end of the last point here. He comes with a mission, and that mission, the common purpose is that He leads us to God consciousness. That is the primary purpose. And we'll see the next verse where Krishna will also give his mission, with what mission the Lord appears. So Lord comes with mission, and Lord's avatar, Lord's descent into the material world is already pre-recorded in scriptures. It is already mentioned in scripture. So somebody says, I am God. Okay, you are saying you're God. Show me your reference in the scriptures. Show me your reference in Bhagavatam. Show me your reference in any of the Puranas. You show me that reference and I accept you as God. Right? So there are so many fake gods, so many fake avatars who claim that they are God, but there is no description, no mention of them in scripture. So that is another checkpoint that we need to run. And place where they can appear. Oh, I was discussing earlier, place anywhere in this universe, wherever there's a decline in religion and wherever wherever there is an increase in irreligion and decline in religion, Krishna appears at that place. The Lord appears at place, the avatar appears at that place. And the message given by the Lord is according to the time, place and circumstances, according to the audience, according to their ability to understand. The message is given by the Lord. So sometimes the Lord comes himself, sometimes he sends his representatives. In either ways, this this is how it is done. So, and as we already discussed, the common purpose of the avatar is to lead everyone, all the living entities, towards God consciousness.
So moving to the next verse, and this is another memory verse, and I'm sure many of us know this verse also.
Pranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
So Krishna is essentially giving 3 reasons why he appears millennium after millennium. Sambhavami yuge yuge. So one yuga after another, he repeatedly appears. For what? For these 3 reasons. First is paritranaya sadhunam. Paritranaya means to deliver. So he appears to deliver the sadhus or the devotees of the Lord, his own devotees. So saintly people or his own devotees, Krishna conscious people. So he comes to deliver them. Second, vinashaya cha dushkritam. Vinash karne ke liye, unka vinash karne ke liye. Kinka vinash karne? Dushkritam. So he appears to destroy the miscreants,
Demoniac.
or the demoniac people, the atheistic people. So he comes to destroy them. Third is dharma samsthapanarthaya, to re-establish the principles of dharma. So when there is a rise in irreligion, and then he appears to re-establish the principles of religion. So my dear friends, are you noticing that we are moving in a flow, in a sequence? So at the beginning of the chapter, Krishna describes about the origin of transcendental knowledge. In verse number 2, he was talking about how to acquire this knowledge. In verse number 3, he was talking about who can acquire this knowledge, or what is the qualification. In verse number 4, Arjuna raised a point. In verse number 5 and 6, Krishna answered or addressed that point by pointing out the difference between living entity and Krishna himself. Then in verse number 7, Krishna was talking about when he appears. So he's actually giving, now this is the transcendental knowledge which has begun. So in verse number 7, he says when he appears. In verse number 8, he is talking about why he appears. So here we have it on the inside slide also, the 3 reasons of why Lord appears, and then he talks about who is a sadhu. So Prabhupada defines it in the purport beautifully, that anyone who is Krishna conscious, who surrendered to the Supreme Lord, is a sadhu or a saintly person. And he also describes who is a dushkrita. So anyone who opposes the sadhu, they are the dushkrita. So this is about this verse, and here we have a life lesson that Lord can do everything just by his desire. He need not come personally. So though Krishna is giving 3 reasons why he come, but he actually need not personally come to, let's say, destroy the demon. I mean, sitting there in his Golok Vrindavan, don't you think he can destroy Hiranyakashipu here in material world? Then why does he personally come to destroy Hiranyakashipu? He does not come to destroy Hiranyakashipu. He comes to save Prahlad Maharaj. So that is what is the life lesson, that the prime purpose of Krishna's advent is to satisfy his devotees. So Krishna loves his devotees so much, and out of their love, he comes to the material world.
And then we have the verse number 9. This is a very, very important verse number 9 and 10. Let's recite this verse. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjun. So here there's a beautiful point Krishna is making, that one who knows that my appearance, Lord is saying, my appearance and activities are spiritual. They are not material. They are transcendental. They have nothing to do with this material world. One who understands this, one who knows this, then what happens? He does not take his birth again in this material world. He becomes free from the cycle of birth, death, old age and disease. And after this life, he goes back to the spiritual world. So this is the great benediction Krishna is giving. This is the power of this knowledge. Just by having this knowledge that Lord's appearance and activities are transcendental. This is the real knowledge. And once we have this, there is no rebirth. Krishna, we go to the spiritual world after this life. Very simple. Can you just imagine how simple it is? So we'll go to the...
Actually, we know that Lord's appearance is transcendental. Like when Lord appears from the womb of Devaki in that prison house of Kamsa, when Lord appeared, he appeared with 400 forms. And he appeared with all whose kaustubh money and various jewels and all.
And garland.
And garland. So which baby, so many mothers here I can see, who gave birth to a child who was adorned with all these garlands and jewel when he came.
And the dress and everything. Yeah.
So of course Krishna.
So Devaki was actually, Devaki had prayed that, Lord, you please appear as my child. So the Lord showed the form so that Devaki is convinced, okay, Lord has become my child.
So moving to the next. And the last verse for the day.
Vita raga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamagataha.
Being freed from. Vita means freedom. So being freed from what? Rag, bhay and krodh. Rag means attachment. Bhay means fear. And krodh means anger. So one becomes free from attachment, anger and fear. Now these are the three things which bind us to this world. In the chapter 3 we were talking at great length about these things and the lust and how it captures us. So now one gets freedom from attachment, fear and anger. How? Manmaya ma mupashritaha. So he is completely absorbed in me. His man or mind is completely absorbed in Krishna. Bahavo jnana tapasa. So what he is doing is he is becoming purified by receiving this transcendental knowledge. So receiving this transcendental knowledge and gradually he becomes purified. So the translation says, being freed from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me. Many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So here are the insights from this verse, that what are the results of understanding the transcendental knowledge. So 4 things happen just by understanding this transcendental knowledge which Krishna is giving in this chapter. So my dear friends, you have joined at just right time, like this 4th chapter, transcendental knowledge. And Krishna is telling what's the result if we understand these chapters properly? Freedom from attachment, fear and anger. We become absorbed in Krishna, because when we are free from attachment, then our mind can focus on Krishna. We become purified and we attain love for Krishna. So here is a life lesson. Krishna says that this is tried and tested method certified by Krishna himself. So the method what Krishna is talking about here is tried and tested, and Krishna himself is elaborating upon it. So just do it. Just go for it.
Yeah,
So
in the verse Krishna is saying many people in the past
Yes.
have attained perfection.
So with this, we come to an end of today's session. Hope you like the session. We would like to hear from you. So kindly send us an email at sukirti@studygita.com. What are your realizations, especially those of you who have joined in this session for the first time today. So for the next one, we have the memory verses. So we have the reading assignments. So we request you to read from verse number 11 to verse number 24 for the next session. Also the memory verses in this particular chapter is verse number 2, 7, 8 and 9. So 4 are the memory verses. So we will really look forward to have you with us today evening anyone has any question, kindly post it at the Q&A link and we will go live at 5 o'clock. So 5 to 6, we would be taking all your questions regarding this chapter or any previous chapter or any other doubts, whatever you have. We would be happy to address them. So those of you who have not become a part of our WhatsApp group yet, kindly send a message at 9840229226, because in the Gita Mastery Course WhatsApp group, we keep sending the class notes, the link for future sessions, the recordings, etc. So you need to be a part of our WhatsApp group. So with this, we come to an end of today's session. Happy Ekadashi. Looking forward to see all of you next week.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So formally, we are ending this session, but now we have this share and care session. So we would like to hear from you.